Wait, are we really leaving off on the did they win? Didn't they win? Ooh, who knows? You'll probably give me another thing at the end, won't you? Anyways, I guess I'll go ahead and review it now, since that's what, that's part of the reason why I played this, aside from the fact that I've never played it before. I think it was... This is honestly going to be kind of a hard game to review, because obviously I didn't grow up with it when it came out in '97, so I can't really be blown away by the special effects, the graphics, everything like other people were when it first came out. I'm playing it 25 years later, almost 30? Dang, yeah, almost 30 years later, I was gonna say, in 2027 it'll be 30. Terrifying thought. As for did it really progress the series? I'm gonna have to say no. Like, the story was okay. It's not the best story. There's bits and pieces to the story that I actually do really enjoy for this. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like this is kind of... And that's what I was reading, unfortunately, that Sakaguchi, after I think Final Fantasy III, got a little more depressed, honestly, Interceptor, because his mother had died, which I get it. We're good, okay. His mother had died, so basically the story started to get more depressing as they went along. I guess that Final Fantasy V was the game where he was happy, because that's a joke on everything, so it's like, 6 is pretty depressing, don't get me wrong, but even this is like, dang, like, everybody's dead, the girl that most people like but isn't as good as Tifa, but Tifa needs more clothes, is dead, everybody's dead, your dog is dead, you suck, the world is dead, game over. It's like, wow, thanks, that's a great thing. It's like, I know that there's supposed to be moments of inspiration in this game, but all I can see is that this is... I can see the influence here between the story for Xenogears and the story for Final Fantasy VII. And as depressing as Xenogears was, I'd say there's more hope in that game. Like, listen, when you have people that are eating Soylent Green... Hold on.
Silent Green is people!
And that's more hopeful. Like, that's pretty messed up, guys. Not gonna lie. It's like... There is bits and pieces of hope here and there, which is good, and I appreciate that. I do think that the storytelling wasn't awful. There's definitely bits and pieces here that I do appreciate, which I just feel was handled better in Xenogears. I hate to keep comparing it to Xenogears, because like they're two separate games. I know that Xenogears was the original pitch for the plot for Final Fantasy VII. It was rejected because it was too dark, and if they think that... And yeah, the bits and pieces throughout all the series of Xenogears, or all of Xenogears, I would say, was darker overall, but Xenogears ends on a... Punch is correct. Like, yeah, Xenogears has a tremendous amount of hope at the end for the 15 people left alive. True. Yeah, I mean, hey. With the beginning of Xenogears, we started with everybody but 2 people dying. 15 people is, an 800% increase from where we started, so that's technically really good, guys. Just saying. Oh. Technically, I think it was more than 2 people, but I know that we had, not Ellie, not Faye, and then I think we had a couple other people. I'm gonna be paying... I mean, I paid attention last time, but it'll be interesting as we go through this. Anyways. Overall, though, I did happen to like 7. As I was saying earlier to Punch, I want to play it again. I do. There's a lot of fun to be had here, and... It's interesting, because I would say that at the very beginning of the game, when you don't have enough materia slots, your materia are low in level, and you just kind of have, you know, the basics, it's not as much fun. But as you keep going along, and you can keep getting more crazy and stupidly powerful strategies, it gets better and better. Now, would I say that it's as good as... Oh, wait 1 second, I want to check something. Okay, we're good. Would I say it's as good as 6, where... You can probably have a bit more customization, or even 5. No, but I do appreciate, and I can see where they were going for, now that I've played all the way through. The initial opening of Final Fantasy VII, gameplay-wise, I would say is probably at its roughest. And I can kind of understand why that is, too, because once again, nothing that you do matters. You're meant to feel sad and depressed, And it's like, man, I really feel like I'm kind of trash at the moment in the early game, whereas at the end it's like you feel pretty powerful. So that does happen to be a point I have to give it credit for. It does make you feel like your characters actually become more powerful as you go along, which I appreciate. Because as we were seeing there, the main 3 characters that had the proper materia, they didn't have a problem with the final boss, for the most part. One person died once, but that's because I'm pretty sure that one spell is meant to kill everybody, or not kill, get everybody really close to being dead. And it did get everybody close to being dead, and then I was like, oh, I better heal. But anyway, the other party was having a lot bigger problems, as I think we saw there, so. And I hadn't, you know, prepared them any materia, any of this thing of the sort. As for anything else, though, the music, what can I really say about Final Fantasy music that hasn't been said before? It's great. It's fantastic. There is a lot of stuff in here where I don't think I would say that this has the best Final Fantasy soundtrack of all the Final Fantasy games, but when it gets really good, it gets really good. The Genova theme is probably a better theme than Sephiroth's theme, and I wish we got to hear more of that. There's other songs here and there that I can remember, but I don't know the names of, and there's probably ones that I don't even remember that I do like. The soundtrack's really good. As much as I like the more 8-bit or 16-bit soundtracks from the first 6 games, them moving on to closer to orchestral, because I don't think this is orchestral. I'm almost positive it's not. It did happen to be a good transition. They did a good job incorporating the music, and it was a good job. I can't remember who did the soundtrack for 7. Maybe it was the same person as Xenogears. Entirely possible. Gonna check that really quickly. Oh, hold on. We got the fact that we didn't get wiped out 500 years later. We'll continue the review in a second. I'm sorry, the little pups look kinda not so good. The not Red 13 looks good, unless it is supposed to be Red 13. Does Red 13 live forever now? I didn't see if he was missing an eye. It's Mr. Miyagi, exactly, and then Midgar is gone. So I guess you get some hope. At least Mr. Miyagi killed off the rest of his teammates while he got to feast on them. Eventually found a mate, and they're the only things living now, along with the geese. If we're going for the depressing thing, we may as well go all out. Let's see. Yeah, the music. Yeah, Yumetsu once again does a good job, unsurprisingly, because he does. Like, there's never been a problem with the music for Final Fantasy, and I love it. As I was getting at earlier, I don't really know what else to talk about aside from it's good. And I was just getting at earlier, the gameplay does happen to have a little bit of flaws, I would say. On the one hand, I don't like that you have less options in the beginning. On the other hand, it does do a really good job of making you feel more powerful as you go along. So I can't really say that as a detriment. I just really like having everything available at once, which is something that 6 was good at, 5 was good at. Like, basically, as soon as you got the jobs in 5, you were set. As soon as you got certain espers in 6, you were set. Because it's like, sure, you didn't have all the magic right away, that's fine. But the espers did give you, you know, strength up, HP up, etc., etc. So if you were really paying attention, you could swap between espers right before you leveled up, get an HP up, or whatever you needed for the time, and keep building your characters more powerful and powerful. I think you can do that here, because I think you can find all the sources by morphing them or something. I read a little bit about it, but... yeah, and that's why... to be fair, Star, maybe that wasn't the intent there. I think they were just trying to show at the end there that Midgar did survive somewhat, so all the people in the slums did survive, and that Midgar was no more. So they learned how to treat the live stream properly. That's how I take that ending, or that final scene. So it's like, okay, Red 13 is still alive because, I don't know, 500 years later. Don't ask me. Everything turned out okay until the sequels. Then everything got bad again because Sephiroth lived somehow. Don't ask me how, but he did. Yeah. And the other thing is, I don't know, for some reason, it makes it even weirder for that final boss fight that we had 8 party members and we didn't have 2 parties of 4. I know that basically ever since Final Fantasy VII, they've gone ahead, except for Final Fantasy IX, I believe. 10, they might have done 4 players as well. Anyways, they've kind of been flirting with 4 players here and there, but a lot of the time it's been 3 players ever since. And it's just, I like having the 4 players instead of the 3. That might be a personal opinion here, but it is something that I have to take into effect because it's, you know, this is, now that I think about it, I have beat all the Final Fantasies up to 7. I haven't beat 10 yet. I haven't beat 8 or 9. I'm working on 9. I was working on 10. I need to make sure my PS TV still works and get back to that, honestly. I was hoping to beat or watch Floofs play all of Final Fantasy X, but that has been deferred for the time being, as you might be able to tell. Which is fine. She's busy. We have a child. It's hard to schedule these things because it's like, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, and I'm not upset at her at all. Because if I was upset at her, that'd be really silly. Give me 1 second. Oh, actually, I can do that. My phone is still on silent. Okay. What else do I really need? Oh, I guess I should cover the morality stuff. Honestly, for the most part, morality isn't too bad. There is a lot of language, particularly from Garrett, as well as from Sid. Those are probably the 2 biggest in terms of language, where they do use the Lord's name a couple times. They will swear a lot. For the most part, their swearing is bleeped out, but there is a couple words where they're not, and it's like, it's not hard to imagine what they were saying with the bleeps. So, sex/nudity, I don't remember anything. Oh wait, actually, hold on. I guess I should talk about one thing that I'm completely trying to blank from my memory. Oh, I try to forget the Honeypot Inn every time, but the Honeypot Inn exists, and that's a thing I probably should bring up in this section. Cross-dressers? That's not a good thing. That's not even the worst part about the Honeypot Inn. I know that sounds weird, but the fact that, you know, it's a brothel, and that, I can't remember his name, was going to use whoever he chose, like, an abuser, that's, like, listen. Cross-dressing can lead to bad stuff. It doesn't have to. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It just typically does lead to other things. Abusing people, on the other hand, is very, very wrong and very, very bad. To put it in like, I was going to get their star. That was the other thought, but it's like, between the Honeypot Inn and Tifa's design, we got a whole lot of area to go between, honestly. It's like, Tifa's design is not, she needs more clothes. She's not too promiscuous, honestly. She does need more clothes, but the Honeypot Inn is the worst part. There's probably some other things that I'm forgetting, honestly, because we've been playing this since, oh man, when did we start Final Fantasy VII? Give me 1 second, please. I'm gonna see if I can find out. I probably can. I'm gonna guess it was March. It might have been February. So we've been going at this for a while, and unfortunately I just missed a couple streams here and there. Oh man, we've been going at this since January. Dang. We're not getting through as many games as I was hoping to. That's for sure. I gotta be able to stream more on my days that I can stream, to clarify. It's like, if I can't stream, that's different. No, that's fine, Yogurt. I hope that your phone call went well. Yeah, it was months ago. It was January. I have been drizzling Final Fantasy VII, honestly. And part of that's been because Minimax has been home. He was home for, I think, like, the last month he was home. So we would have finished this earlier in June if he hadn't been home. I'm not streaming this game when Minimax is home because, yeah. Sounds good, Star. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I guess that really covers the sex/nudity. Violence. Yes? Honestly, I'm sure I'm blanking on things where people are abused. I know that Hojo through... Oh, yeah, I'm blanking a lot. I'm trying to repress that, apparently. That's fair. Did you at least get it sorted out, Yogurt? I guess there's a lot of violence now that I think about it. Initially, like, at the very beginning of the game, Hojo throws Aerith in with Red 13, thinking Red 13th will go ahead and... Red 13 will go ahead and attack her. He doesn't because he's a good boy. He's a good doggy, or Mr. Miyagi. There's the whole part where people get impaled multiple times. Aerith gets impaled. No blood on that one, though. A lot of Shinra gets stabbed by Sephiroth a lot. There's a lot of blood on the floor after Shinra gets stabbed. All of Hojo's experiments. Hojo coming in and stealing Aerith's mom from Dr. What's-His-Face, can't remember his name. So there's a lot of significant violence where it's meant to make you feel bad for the characters, and there's just a lot of violence. Obviously, there's also going to be people attacking because it's an RPG. It's occult/magic/paganism. I guess technically, in a sense, people refer to the live stream, which I would call that paganism. So there's that, which I would say is problematic, especially since they were just showing that it does take place in our universe. Now that I think about it, at the very end, they did show that it takes place in our universe. So it's like, no, you're doing it wrong. Try again. There's the usual magic in Final Fantasy, so nothing like too terribly bad, but you know, honestly, overall, I would say that this is still a good game. What did I give Final Fantasy 1 again? Let me see if I can find that real quickly. I should be able to find it real quickly. I just can't remember what I gave it. I gave it a 70%. You know, I think I will go ahead and put it on par with Final Fantasy 1. There's some problems with 7. I liked Final Fantasy 7. I'll give it a 70%. So it's not a bad game. It's not a great game. It is one that I do want... But basically, 40% is where I will say games are getting bad. 70% is where it's a game where it's like, yeah, I'd like to replay that in a few years, or even soon. And basically above 90%, it's like, yeah, I can replay this one a bunch, and it's a great game. I'll put it at 70%. The gameplay... Man. I don't know. Do I want to give it a 3.5? I don't want to give it a 3.5. I'll give it a 2.75, I think. I'm thinking. You know what? I'll give the gameplay a 3. It's fun, and as I said, the more you play, the more powerful you do feel, which does happen to be a good way to play it. It's just not what I'm used to for my Final Fantasies, and after Final Fantasy 1 through 6, it kind of feels like a step down, a letdown, one could say. The graphics, I'll give a 3 out of 5. They still hold up for the most part. Oh, that's actually something I should talk about while I'm thinking about it. The graphics do hold up for the most part today. I'll actually give it a 2.5 out of 5. There is a lot of confusion, honestly, with the switch to 3D graphics. The more I think about it, where you're supposed to specifically go with your character, and you can alleviate that a lot of the time by having the indicators for you can go here on the exit. That doesn't solve anything, though. I'm specifically thinking of the dolphin, where you need to toss yourself up with the dolphin, and if you don't know the trick, just press triangle twice. That's gonna take some time. Then there's other parts where it's just like, where do I go when it's not an exit? So it's not bad graphics wise, but it does get confusing, and it's not compared to Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy VII does not look nearly as good, so I'd have to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Replayability 3.5 out of 5. As I said, it's not a bad game. I do want to play it more. I will play it more eventually. So it's passable. It was fine game. 70%. Final Fantasy VII, everybody. Welcome to the review. At the end of the review, I guess.